Okay, so I have a bit of a dilemma or conundrum that I've been wondering about the last couple. Actually, I've been thinking about it for a couple weeks, but I've been watching child free millennials videos here on YouTube, and she uh, doesn't want kids, never wanted kids, um, for her own reasons. But I responded to her today that the reason I don't want kids is because I don't want the responsibility. And my thoughts on that, on having kids, is that if you have them, then you are responsible for them for the rest of their lives. That's my gut reaction, is that you brought them into your specific world, your household, they're constructed of your DNA. So you kind of armed them with the weapons or the tools that they will be able to use in their life. Because your genes, your DNA dictated uh, their DNA and their genes and their genetic makeup, their biological makeup. It it kind of it was a roll of the dice how the extent of the limitations of their intelligence, the limitations of their brain, and so on and so forth. Um, so you created this specific person and you brought them into your specific situation, your financial situation, your household, uh, the relationship or lack thereof with the other parent, or whatever situation it might be. You brought them into that. And so my feeling is just like if you would bring an animal into that, a pet, buy or adopt a pet, you're responsible for feeding, caring for, providing whatever that animal would need until either you or it died. So I feel the same should apply if you have kids. They should, they're entitled to being fed for the rest of their life. Not up until they're 18, until either you or they die. It, I'd even go as far as saying you should ensure that after you die, that they're going to be fine. Their needs are going to be met even after you die. Um, like a lot of people would ensure that if there's a guy he has a pet tortoise, and he knows the tortoise is going to outlive him, and so he's already looking for a home for that tortoise for after he dies. So something like that. Um, but if you want the kid to go to college, you have to pay for it. If you want the kid to do anything, have kids, you want to be a grandparent, then you have to pay for those grandkids too, just like you do your own kid. I think you get the picture. Everything is your responsibility because you took on that responsibility, just like somebody takes on a responsibility whenever they get a pet. But a lot of parents, I find, are like a kid that doesn't want to be responsible for taking care of a pet that they asked for. They ask their parents, "Can I have a puppy?" And that's what they think is. They just think about a puppy. They don't think about an adult dog and all this. They don't consider all the responsibilities and things like that. Some of them do, and they take it on, and it's fine. But there's a lot of times that their parents end up taking care of that puppy. Um, so a lot of people that have kids are like that. They're like, well, we don't have to do all this, and we don't want the responsibility. You're 18, get out of our house. Oh, and while you're, a teenager, you have to cut the grass, our house, our rules, and so on. So you have to earn this and earn that and all these things. But I think if you're going to have kids, you're not entitled to having them do any chores or any of that. And if they desire to live at home after they turn 18, well, guess what? They get to do that. And I feel you should be obligated to it. So these are all the ways that I feel. But considering generic subjective continuity, which if you don't know about that, I talk about it a lot on my channel. And actually the video I did before this one, I went into detail about that in a response to Child-Free Millennial. So if you want to learn about what that is and everything, then you need to go watch that. Or I'd actually suggest watching a few of my playlists on generic subjective continuity so you have an idea of what I'm talking about. So you might want to pause this video and go watch some of those right now until you get a firm grasp of what generic subjective continuity is. But considering GSC and what I just said, this is the conundrum. Does it make sense? Because knowing that after death is another consciousness, now it could be an animal consciousness or a human consciousness, as my subscribers know. Wouldn't it be better to have human consciousnesses that are independent, self-reliant, and strong versus human consciousnesses humans that are dependent on others and therefore become weak and just like stupid, and just like having a pet you raised in your house and suddenly kicking it outside. So my thinking is, well, because of GSC, it's like, well, I think it would be good to have human consciousness continue rather than there only being wild animal consciousness or just animal consciousness if all humans went extinct. So I think it'd be good to preserve human consciousness going into the future because of GSC. But I think if we were to make parents completely responsible and all that, like I said, what I was saying, then I think that would lead to the extinction of humans and therefore human consciousness. But at the same time, it would cause the parents to adapt more, to better adapt. So there would be that sort of strengthening of the species, but there would be the weakening of the offspring. Unless people would have kids, so inevitably it would lead to the end of human consciousness. But is human consciousness better than, is the human experience, the civilized human experience, better than wild animals? I was talking to Les Knight. He's the founder of the voluntary human extinction movement, and we were talking about how animals don't really, their view, they don't really, they don't fear suffering. They just suffer when they suffer. They don't like contemplate suffering. They don't imagine situations like that could happen. Like they don't imagine, oh, what if I this and this happened, like one day, and then it led to my death. He believes that they're blissfully unaware of that. So he thinks that I'm uh, anthropomorphizing the animal experience when it comes to suffering and all that. So he thinks it'd probably be better. He believes that humans are pretty much always living in fear. He said, fear of death and just fear. Whereas animals, he doesn't think they're always living in fear. But I think like gazelles out on the savannah or whatever, I think they're always like, they're timid. They're very timid. So it feels like um, they know the potential of being attacked by a lion or whatever. So I feel like they do go around throughout life with fear. They're startled easily. They run away from everything. Like deer here, even in America, they run. As they, most a rabbit just runs. It's like it's afraid of everything. Whereas humans, we see other people, we don't run away. We see most animals, we don't run away. There's even people, they don't run away whenever they see a bear right in front of them. There's videos on YouTube. I saw this black bear walked right up to this lady. She just stood there. I couldn't detect any fear in her whatsoever. And rarely, that's the thing, humans rarely encounter wild animals, at least here in in the Western world. We don't encounter that many predators. So it's a question of like, where is humanity going and what's better, and it's just like, I'm interested. That's why I made this video. I'm interested in hearing what you think about this conundrum. Should I tell people like, no, if you have kids, you're completely responsible for them forever until the end? Is that a good idea to spread, to promote, or is it better to just be like, well, I think the species will do better if we carry on the way we are. So I think that's everything I wanted to say. Oh, and my parents, I wanted to say this. My mother has always said that life sucks. Every once in a while, like we'll be talking about something, and then the conversation turns towards something, that happened with someone, like my sibling passed away. And so we'll talk about that, and eventually, at some point in conversation, she utters, "Life sucks." And I'm like, yeah. And, but she has always said that as far back as I can remember, pretty much, since I was very young at least. And she had a pretty bad childhood. From what she always told me when I was a kid, she constantly told us stories about the horrors of her childhood. And the same with my dad. They both had bad childhoods. So, what were they thinking? To bring a kid into their, what motivated them? I want to have a kid, but this is my outlook on life. And it still is. And like, pretty sure my mom has depression. I don't know know, I can't diagnose. But she always just had this kind of gloomy, bleak outlook on things. So what I could see having kids, someone having kids, if their outlook was sunny and they're just like really happy, and they were like, I would love to share this life with somebody, bring someone into this life. But why would you have kids if you're not happy? And just doesn't. They believed that it would lead to happiness. I was unplanned, so there's that. And both my parents had bad childhoods. So what was going on there? Anyways, thanks for watching, and see you next time.